Hey, Justin Dyson here, Dyson Apiaries. Today,
And Heather Dyson.
oh my bad. Justin Dyson here and Heather Dyson here today with Dyson Apiaries. Today we're really excited. We're coming to you on July 3rd, 2025, the 10th anniversary of Dyson Apiaries. Today is the day that I began my own personal hives of honeybees. Before that, I worked for my dad, Terry Dyson with Triple J Honeybee Farms. Grew up raising honeybees, but on this day 10 years ago, I got my own honeybees and we began Dyson Apiaries. Today, we're really excited to bring to you a new video series called Back to the Basics. Stick right with us. So like I said, starting a new series called Back to the Basics. And so when we first started Dyson Apiaries, I bought 4 nukes, 5-frame nukes from my dad on July 3rd, and I started my own personal honeybees, and that is what started Dyson Apiaries. And so again, today, July 3rd, we want to just reflect on that, and we want to start a new video series more focused on those beekeepers out there that are operating less than 30 colonies, and like we're going to literally manage 2 colonies of bees that are like we don't have any other bees in this apiary. We're going to manage those and try to just work through issues just like maybe some of you that have 2 or 3 colonies of bees out there may have. We're going to work through those colonies in the same way, try to post that content routinely every couple weeks like we would do an inspection on colonies. And so that's what we're going to start with today. And right here, when I started those colonies of bees, I started with 5-frame nukes. I had all foundation. I didn't have any drawn comb. We just kicked that off, right? And so that's kind of what we're going to do today. I do want to say this content is going to vary in length. We may have stuff that is just a brief little quick check as we're walking by the colony, and then there may be a 30-minute video later where we're really diving in, trying to find what is going on with this colony. I really hope we can get them through the winter, but we may not, and that's just real. Some of the videos are going to be a little less edited than our normal content. We really want to show you some of the more raw, what happens when you're going through a colony trying to figure out the issues, and just kind of give you some of that insight. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to break this colony down into 2. And so the other day we ran a poll on Facebook, and I asked all of our followers, hey, give us some feedback. If you had your rathers, or maybe just what do you currently do for your winter configuration of your hives? Do you run double deeps, single deeps? There's a bee on the camera. That's awesome. Maybe you'll see it. Do you run double deeps, single deeps, deep and a super, whether it be a medium or a shallow, or all supers, like stacking up multiple supers? And so overwhelmingly, the result came back as deep and a super. And so that would be like this configuration right here reversed. That would be what most of those results are coming back at. But there was really a close second on double deep configuration, which is what we run through the winter. And so I kind of told with it just a little bit, and I was like, well, what am I going to do? Because I wanted to put this series out, and I wanted to really operate a colony like a hobbyist beekeeper does, with 1 or 2 colonies, maybe 15 colonies, but still the premise is kind of the same until we get on up to 50 or so colonies. So I wanted to operate those colonies like that. When I'm running the couple hundred colonies that we're running, sometimes I get into more of a production manner, like I'm going through an apiary, I'm setting them all up the same, and I'm really focused on that. And for this, like, we don't have to be in that mode. And so I want to set up 2 colonies, and it's like there is nothing else out here. It's just these 2 colonies. And because my poll was a little bit divided, I'm going to run one of both. I'm going to run a deep with a medium, and I'm going to run a double deep. But how do I get there to start with? I'm going to take this one colony, and I'm going to make 2 colonies out of it as a throwback to July 3rd, 2015 when we started. I'm going to start 2 brand new colonies right here. And so I'm going to make a split. And we're going to make a split on July 3rd. A lot of people ask me how late's too late to make a split. This is about the end of when I typically make splits. I will say an exception to that is if you have drawn comb already, you can make splits later. But if you don't have drawn comb, I don't recommend making splits much later than right now, because we're past the solstice. Bees are in conservation mode. They don't want to waste their honey on making wax, and so they get less likely to draw wax. So this is about it. We're going to jump into this like I'm 2015, 10 years ago. I don't have any drawn comb. All I have is these 2 boxes right here. I do have like 5 frames back here. I'll show you in a minute, but we're going to jump into this. All right, so what are we starting with? Like, let's get all our stuff together. We're making a split today. And so first off, I have this colony. We can see right here in the front, it must be pretty strong. Actually, up here in the top, I have them set up like the rest of my colonies with a 2-frame feeder, holds 2 gallons, division board feeder, and then I have some drone comb and some foundations scattered in up here, and I'm feeding them. All of this medium right here is drawn out. Should be a good laying queen in there. Hadn't checked them in a couple weeks, but they should be good. But let's get all of our equipment ready. Again, I'm going to set this up just like these 2 colonies are what we're going to follow. Probably for the next, at least until we get to the honey mode. We're going to make a little honey off of these, and I hope to just continue this content as we follow these 2 colonies into the next stage. And so, bottom board, I like to go ahead and set an empty deep down. Because I'm going to start, this one's going to be a deep and a medium. This one's going to be a double deep. And so I'm going to go ahead and put an empty deep right there. What else do I have? I have a box here of all brand new foundation. So 10 frames there. Of course, I have my lid for my new colony. Got a few extra frames there. Most of that's foundation. Some of it's drawn out a little. I have a 2-frame division board feeder. These are the feeders I prefer in most of my colonies. That's what I'm going to run in these. You could alternatively use a hive top feeder or a bucket feeder or even a boardman feeder. But just know we're going to be drawing comb, and a lot of comb. We got to feed these bees as we go through this. So whatever feeder even if you use a boardman with a quart, you're going to be filling that up every single day. So just keep that in mind. We're going to run this way just because that's the way most of my stuff is. It's easier for me to feed in this manner, but a hive top feeder or a bucket on top would work just fine. Last thing. So here, a lot of people ask me, I had a dead out. What do I do with all this comb? I'll tell you what I would do if I had less than 30 colonies. I would stick it in the freezer, just like I did with this. And so we have comb here drawn out. This stuff is gold when it comes to making splits. There's a little bit of honey in this. We have some drawn out comb, nice fresh drawn out comb. This is really nice. This is going to be really good to help us set this colony up. One key thing is we're here in July, so if we're going to have frames with a little bit of honey in them, let's keep them covered up. I have a cover on the bottom, cover on the top, inner cover, got a piece of tape over it. You could use a lid, whatever. Keep that covered up. We don't want to start World War III out here with bees starting to rob. So next thing, we're going to jump into this colony. We're going to find the queen. We're going to see if we can figure out what's happening and make a split. All right, let's dive in this colony. See what we can find. Seems to be a decent looking little colony there. I've been feeding these with this division board feeder. They're drawing some comb here. hive was well on their way, but for the purposes of this, I'm gonna go ahead and split them just so we can have something to start with here for our 10th anniversary. Awesome. Got a good brood up here. Got a little brood. And I'm going to be looking for the queen. Now, which hive do I put the queen in? Well, I'm going to do this split all in the same apiary. And so if we're doing that, we got to know that if this is the original hive location, this is the new hive location, old bees are going to come back to this hive. Any bees that have not left the colony yet, they're going to stay here. Which bees accept a queen more readily? I'm not doing a walk-away split here. Stand by. I just so happen to have a queen in my pocket. Maybe we went and purchased this queen somewhere. We raised this queen, but that's okay. We're going to introduce the new queen at a split. Absolutely not the time of year to do some kind of walk-away or anything. We need a good mated queen right now. Too late in the year. And so old bees are going to come back here, younger bees are going to be here. Which bees are more likely to accept a queen? Young bees. I'm going to put the queen over, I'm going to put the new queen over here, the old queen here. We're going to have to make sure we get a lot of bees over here because there's bees going to come back because we're doing this split all in the same apiary. We're going to make it happen. I'm going to set this queen aside right now. And we're going to go ahead and pull some frames over. I'm going ahead and doing this just to keep from having to pick this heavy box up. I'm looking for the queen as we go. We're going to see what we find here. Again, we talk about robbing this time of year. The bees are already kind of darting in. Most of our bees are in Sourwood country right now, so there's not many sitting out here, but they're trying to rob. So another frame of brood. That makes 2 frames of brood. That's a frame of eggs and larvae. That makes 3. That one's just almost drawn out. Another frame of brood. 4 good little frames of brood. And now we're getting into some foundation. Now I'll say, like, you see how that's already turned white just a little bit? Those bees are like right there. They're gonna draw that out. Like 2 days, if I left this on here, that would all be drawn out. I really shouldn't be splitting this colony right now, but I just am, because today is July 3rd, 2025 on our 10-year anniversary, so I'm gonna do it anyway. And I wanted to do a medium, I wanted to do a deep medium and a double deep, and this is the only other colony I have that's in that configuration, so I had to pick this one. But anyway, so there's just a frame of honey. What am I going to do with that frame of honey? I'm going to throw it right against the outside wall for right now. Let's see what else we have in here. Looks like I have some more foundation. That's where that other box comes in really handy that we talked about right here. So I'm going to use up some of that comb. I'm going to use that comb up right here in this split. Go ahead and grab these. These are all nice and drawn out frames. So give that queen somewhere to lay, because she's going to come out. She's a brand new queen. Just caught her out last week. She's going to come out ready to roll. Let's see here. I have 2 more drawn out combs. Look at there. I made 10 frames. Awesome. All right, so I have all drawn comb in the bottom, and that's exactly what I wanted. I don't like putting foundation in the bottom. Bees have a tendency to work up, not out. And so if we put a frame of foundation right here, they're going to have a tendency to go around that and go up. And so I really want a drawn comb down there. And so if you're starting a new nuke or something like that, and you got foundation, don't add the next box until all of it's drawn out. So we haven't found the queen yet. She could have been on one of those frames and I missed her, but we're gonna go ahead and see what's happening down here in the bottom box. I'm gonna set that in the front, see if I can lean that up without mashing bees. So all these frames down here are gonna be drawn. And we got a lot of time still to raise bees, but we have to talk to bees into raising bees. So we're gonna have to feed, we're gonna have to keep them moving forward, doing a split right now this time of year. And so we're just gonna glance through this. That's a frame with a little bit of honey in it. More honey. So we're gonna leave that old queen here, but we need to find her and make sure which hive she's in. Brood, brood, and I see eggs and larvae right there in the middle of that frame. For you all that have watched my channel much, you know that a lot of times I don't look for the queen. I just shake the bees down, but before I make splits. But in this case, we're looking for the queen. And I found her on this frame right here. Right there she is, blue dot. And so we're going to leave her in this medium. All right, I know that queen is right there. I'm actually going to follow her for a second. I want to see, she's right there. So I'm going to lean that frame over there real quick. I want to see what else we have here just out of curiosity. Bees are already trying to rob, so when you have this issue, throw a cover over the top. And so let's cover this split up for a minute while we're finishing up with this hive. Brood. More brood. Eggs and larvae. More brood. I see on this next frame, brood, brood. Now we're into pollen. Oh, and brood. We still got brood. And that next frame is all honey. I can see it from here. So I'm going to slide that back over. I'm going to slide all these frames over, all this brood. Slide it over here. Now, all these old foragers right here are going to go back home. And so we need to make sure we have enough bees over here. In order to do that, we need to shake some in there. Let's go ahead and do that. Like these combs are just, there's not enough bees over here. All the old bees that are already there are going to be going back home. And so you might think that there's not enough bees left over here when we get done, but we're going to shake some bees over. And the bees that are around our young brood, those are going to be our youngest bees and the most likely to stay where we put them. And that should be enough right there. We've got some bees over here now. This is not really enough bees I'd like doing a normal split with, but we're going to do it anyway, just for a point of reference, but they'll be all right. I'm going to go ahead and get this queen back in here. Let me find her. There she is. She's right here. And so I went ahead and set this up. I have honey here, and then I'm brood on a cross. And then I have this one frame that was against the wall. It just had just a touch of honey in it, but it was mostly empty. I'm actually going to put it right here in the middle of this brood. We're in July. It's plenty warm enough. They can take care of it. I'm going to put it right there. Give that queen somewhere to jump on and lay. All right. I'm going to do something weird here. You're probably going to ask me, why the heck did you do that? This next box is going to be all foundation. I had 10 frames in here, but I'm taking 2 out because I'm using the feeder. Now, I'm going to put this deep on top of that medium. You might think, that's a stupid idea. You don't ever do that. Deep should be on the bottom, medium should be on top. 2 reasons I'm going to do this right now this time of year. Might not be a popular opinion. One is, I like to have this type of feeder. This is the type of feeder I have most. If you were using a hive top feeder, it wouldn't matter. I'm using this division board feeder. Well, it doesn't fit in the medium. So, there we go. That's one reason I'm doing this. Second reason is, has anybody ever heard about reversing our boxes in the spring? Well, why are you thinking about reversing boxes? This is July. The reason I'm thinking about reversing boxes is because we're past the solstice. Right now, I'm getting ready for winter. I'm preparing for spring honey flow today. These are things I'm doing today set me up for being able to make honey next April. And so, if I come into the spring, and if we look at the side of this box, let's pretend that this is our deep on the bottom. And a lot of times when we go to reverse, because the bee, a European honeybee wants to move up through their honey through the winter, and if our bees move up through the honey and they're split, our brood comes down into our deep and up into our super, like that. If we reverse that, we have 2 half moons split apart and we've split our brood. Now, in this scenario right here, if our bees move up, can we see that? If our bees move up through our honey, say this box ends up being full of honey, we got brood down here, they're going to end up expanding that brood up a little bit as we feed. If they move up through their honey and they end up here in the top, our brood's going to be right here, centered in that brood box. And then come spring, we have no issue. We can take that box, put it on the bottom, put that super on top, and now that queen has somewhere to lay. We've discouraged swarming, given them somewhere to store honey, and we're rocking and rolling. So a lot of times when I set up, if I'm setting up, I run most things double deep, but if I'm setting up something with a super, come this time of year, I actually put that super on the bottom, because in the spring of the year I can reverse it. You may like or dislike the strategy, doesn't matter, but that's what I do. So now we have, this colony is done. The queen is in here. I'm gonna feed the hound out of this because I have 8 frames of deep foundation I gotta draw out. And so we're gonna be feeding them 1-to-1 sugar syrup. They're gonna need 10 gallons probably of 1-to-1 sugar syrup before they get that drawn out. And to continue to raise bees, they need to raise a lot of bees because we really broke them down. Raise bees, draw comb, tons of work ahead of them, but we're gonna feed the heck out of them. This is colony number 1 for Back to the Basics. Now we have colony number 2. And I want to set them up as a double deep. And so we're going to take this, we'll take this box right here. It already has several bees in it. It's already got the feeder in it. This is the way I set up all of my colonies for winter. And so we're going to take that, all those bees, and again, a lot of these bees are going to go back home over there. So even though we have, maybe it looks like there's more over here, at the end of the day, they'll balance out. I'm gonna grab a couple of these foundations. There's a few of these foundations have a little bit of drawn comb in them, but they are definitely by far not drawn. I'll show you. That's the most that anything's drawn. This is partial there. So we're going to get these in here. So we've got 8 frames, some bees, and a division board feeder. The bees are already trying to rob. This time of year is awful. When you spend this amount of time in a colony, it's challenging. All right, what about this queen? What do we do with her? You can put her in now. I will say a lot of times you have a little bit better luck if you'll wait a few hours, let those bees realize they're queenless. They're going to start roaring a little bit, and then when you set this queen in there, they're going to run to her. And you can just tell when they're ripe to receive a queen. We're going to go ahead and put her in there now, just so we see how it's done. I'll say, like, introducing queens this time of year sometimes can be a little challenging. Feeding bees while we're introducing queens helps that process. Sometimes we can take a piece of duct tape and actually close that candy plug off for a couple days and then come back, and just gives them a little more time, because a day and a half and the bees can be through that candy plug. But we have a nice pretty queen in there. Probably can't see her, but nice pretty queen, Dyson Apiaries queen there. This is the way I install queens, with a California cage. So I tilt that box back, I take this cage, face the wire down. So if we try to put it down here, it does fit, but we have to spread our we have to spread our frames way apart. So what I like to do is actually go up here in the frames above into these bottom bars, and if you put that cage right in between those bottom bars, it fits just perfect. And so we're going to put it about a 1/4 inch above the base. We're going to squeeze those frames back together. We're going to tilt that candy down. It works a little better if you have drawn comb. Let me try again. These frames are not stuck yet, so there's one with a little wax on it. I'm going to grab some of that wax. I'm going to stick it right there on the side of that frame. Hang on. Look here, we're going to make this work. I'll face that cage down. Lean the candy plug down the hill just a little bit. And that's stuck in there now. Can we see? Make sure that candy plug's tilted down, because if it gets hot on that queen, candy runs in on the queen. Sometimes it can stick them and they end up dying. So we always want the candy plug leaned down the hill just a little bit. So the bees are starting to arrive. I got to move on. So we got the queen installed. We got our hive set up here. All right. Hey, so later tonight, just coming out here doing a little feeding. And so I'm feeding a few other bees in this apiary too, so I'm going to be pumping it in. But I did want to say, like, this Pro Health or Honeybee Healthy, some of that stuff, it's a really good supplement to add to your feed. Here's the issue with it. It's got like lemongrass oil in it, which is, bees love it. And so if you got a robbing situation going on, don't use it. But you know, if you don't have any issues, like, it's a great little supplement to add to the bees. Helps with their digestive system and a few things. But the other thing with this jug, so this is a Pro Health jug, gallon jug, but also it's like the same jug as a windshield washer fluid jug. And so when you're feeding, come look here, no matter what you're mixing up in, like if you use a funnel and put it in one of these little gallon jugs, like it could be a windshield washer fluid jug, you know, clean it out good, pour your syrup into here. It pours really well into any of these feeders, much better than it does like out of a bucket or something else. So save these jugs, they do really well for that. I'm about to pump some syrup. I'm gonna drop 2 gallons of syrup in this feeder right here, along with some other bees, but these are the 2 colonies that we're working with. We feed at night because then we don't have robbing. Anytime you're feeding, make sure you don't spill anything. Keep it all in the hive. Less prone to robbing issues. back to the basics, hive number 2. So we have 2 hives. I'll come out here and put some numbers on them so y'all can keep up with them. But hive number 1 is going to be a deep and a super. It's a deep and a medium. I actually have them in the reverse configuration of what you would think you would want them. I promise it'll work. And then I have 1 in a double deep. Will these colonies make it through the winter? Will we get them to draw the comb? I don't know. We're going to find out. Will the queen be accepted? I don't know. We'll find out. Follow us. I'm going to try to do inspections on these colonies routinely. Just as like a normal inspection, we may walk by the colony one day and we'll throw a little short out there to say, this is what we see, this is what I observed, this is what we're thinking we need to do. But we're going to have some content rolling here regularly for Back to the Basics with Dyson Apiaries in celebration of our 10-year anniversary. As always, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Mash that like button. We really appreciate all of our followers being out there. It's been a great ride, and we're going to continue that with Back to the Basics. Follow us in the next couple weeks. We'll post some more content and updates on what's happening with these 2 colonies, number 1 and number 2. Thanks for watching.